Hey everybody, welcome to Life Lessons with Donna and Cheryl from Now Is Your Time. We've got Donna talking here and I've got Cheryl with me, and we're all virtual because we're still mid-pandemic, and we've got one of our friends and one of the very first clients that Now Is Your Time ever had, the fabulous Mr. Steve USHER. We got a boy to share life lessons today. Yay!
Hello,
welcome,
how are you
welcome,
both?
welcome. Well, guys, I wish you could see. Steve is at their summer house at the minute over in Sweden, and he looks all chilled, relaxed. He's got this lovely brown glow, the biggest smile I've ever seen, which is probably to do with a boat that he treated himself to recently, and very well deserved it was too. How was the boat, Steve?
The boat is awesome. It's awesome. It's you know, it was one of those goals that I set myself and ourselves actually as a family, and we achieved it this year. And having come to these kind of area, an area called Östergötland in the kind of just south, a couple of hours south of Stockholm for like 15 years. It's just nice now to have a boat, and because it's just full of lakes. And now we see it on a whole new perspective, and it's a whole new experience for us. So that's awesome. So
it's
awesome.
Amazing. And we love it when we see someone's vision board literally come, because you literally sent me, didn't you, the photo from the vision board, and then the real thing is even better, may I say.
It is, and I put it on my vision board last year. I've been looking at it every day, and it's bizarrely the story behind it, very quickly, but the story behind it was I was meant to see one boat, which was like a couple of hours drive away on a Monday morning. We were going to go and see a boat, and literally I thought I'd just check online to see if there's any others, and there was one 20 minutes down the road. And I went down there, and it was the one for sure. So, and then bought it that day and brought it back the following day. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
this is like manifestation.
Hugely.
At its best.
Yeah.
At its best.
We've always called you a super attractor. You're very good at bringing these things, attracting them to you. So, but the reason we wanted to talk to you today was because, one, we love getting a guy's perspective on life lessons. Not enough guys are out there feeling comfortable enough to share some of the things that we speak about. And we love that you're happy to talk to us about this today. Because for you, you have gone through like 5 years of incredible change in your life, haven't you? You had one of those real pivotal years. It wasn't just a moment. It was a year when you hit 40, and there was a domino effect of a few things happen, which I want to talk to you about today. And we want to just have you have this platform to share what that meant for you, what you learned from it, and really how we want to encourage, especially the men, to come forward and start talking about these things, because that was when change really started to happen for you, wasn't it? So
yeah, I mean, let's start with that convergence. I think that year, just to set the scene. So I was kind of the founder and CEO of a recruitment consultancy, CCA Recruitment Group in the UK. Started it in my early 20s. So kind of, went on this kind of mad journey, kind of fell into it, but went on this mad 16-year journey, which was amazing. I mean, tons of learning. Too much to even discuss now. But one thing about me is that I have to do something that I'm passionate about, that I'm led by my passion and my drive. And so that year, kind of turning 40, was my 15th or 16th year of having the business. And what kind of happened was, I've never really been massively into birthdays, like 30th or 40th. I hadn't even thought about it. I know we talked about the midlife crisis stuff. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And it does exist. And so so basically I went through this went into that, turning that year when I was turning 40. And unfortunately, my dad, first and foremost, was diagnosed with cancer. And that obviously, for any family, and that situation really then starts to disrupt, individually, as a family, just your life.
And you were really super close to your dad as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's well, there's a backstory on that as well, but again, it's which again comes out, which you have to deal with after these situations. But I think that really set the tone for me, because I started to question everything. And that year I was really struggling with my work, like really, really struggling. I didn't tell really anyone in the office at the time, or my business partner. I tried to just work through it. And I just found myself getting grayer and tireder by the minute. And I just basically, it's a really weird thing. I woke up from one day to the next, and I went from loving it to don't want to be anywhere near it. And that was incredibly difficult for me as a CEO of a business, and a weird sensation of not wanting to be in the office and not wanting to be there. So
It was just a huge part of who you were, was it? Like, you were really synonymous with that organization. Like, I remember. So
well, it was, I mean, as it come to play, it was my identity. And so so that year and obviously then turning 40, which then did hit me for sure. I then decided to exit the business, which I did at the end of just before the end of the year. It gave me an opportunity to see my dad out. And then basically the following year, I just stopped. I was very fortunate to be in a position to just stop, take my kids to school every day, do homework, just chill out, just stop, just stop. And
just get off the race for a little while.
Now, for some, right, you may think, oh yeah, but that's really appealing. But actually, what I learned from this was a really interesting moment happens, is that it forces you kind of to focus internally. And that was really fucking scary for me. So I started to recognize certain things that were going on in my life that weren't serving me well. People who I was with or surrounding myself with weren't serving me well. And I also didn't deal with my dad's death at all that year. And I went on that whole year of just through a lot of pain, a lot of self-doubt, self-confidence dropped massively. And then actually made the decision then to say, well, let's move to Sweden. So why not change? Everything else has changed, so we'll just change where we live. And so for those that don't know me, my wife's Swedish, and so it was quite an easy move for us. And we'd already thought about it about 4 years before, but never engaged in it. And so so then we moved to Sweden, and at that point I actually had a kind of a universe moment where I bumped into somebody in a coffee shop back in London, who I was kind of talking to about maybe getting some coaching from her. And we just fortuitously, it was mad. I'm standing at the coffee counter, ordering my coffee, and I'm standing there just twiddling my thumbs, waiting for my coffee to come out the other end. And I was standing going, God, I think I need to find a coach. I really need to find this coach. And then all of a sudden, from my left side of my eye, out the toilet comes Kirsty, who's a coach who I was meant to have contacted before I went to Sweden, but we never quite got it together. The timing misaligned. And we just said, hi, how are you? And she said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, this is what I'm doing. I said, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I'm a coach. And I was like, oh my God, we need to talk.
Get your coffee. There's a table over there.
Yeah. So, and that was literally that. And we went on this mad 6-month journey because I was in a really bad place. My hole was deep, shall we say. No, but it was grief. It was just pure grief. And it was deep, and it was sadness, which I'd never really, you know me, I'm not typically a very high energy, positive person. Yeah. I'd never dealt with this stuff before. It was really bad. And so we did about a 6-month journey together. I look back now, it's a little bit back crazy, but it bloody worked. I ended up taking, here in Sweden, I took a boat out to one of the islands close to here. And on my own, I spent 2 days there. And basically I did a ceremony for my dad and built a big fire, and basically wrote loads of stuff to my dad, which I didn't have a chance to share with him, or things that I wanted to also learn from the death, not just about what I wanted to tell my dad, because there's learning in everything. And then I burnt these various things, and then I stripped naked and then jumped into the lake and just lay there naked in this lake, looking up at the sky with nature, and just kind of moved that death in that moment from this kind of, I kind of created a ball for myself and created it so I could touch the ball and feel the ball, but have it in a place that feels good rather than it being consuming me.
Yeah. But I love that you did that and got that help to go through that, because we don't know how to do, like, going through the death of a pet is totally different to going through the grief of losing a parent or somebody so close to you. But so many of us will just put it in a box, put it away, and just keep hoping that it doesn't pop up. So that was your first real experience of going through something like that, and you got the right help to do it.
Well, it was massively transformative, and I think for me it was also a thing, because me and my dad did not have a good relationship, particularly in my teenage years. It wasn't great, and I was an absolute sod, don't get me wrong, but also it just highlighted for me a number of things that I hadn't been dealt with, and kind of some of the meditative stuff that I did did with Kirsty. We went literally back to my childhood, and we found the source. I found the source, and it was mad to think that in that moment at that age, I was under 9, easy, 6 to 7 and 8. They were, I thought that was going to have an impact on me in my 40s, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It certainly put the pressure on me. Suddenly realised, like, maybe for
What am
Tom
I
and
doing with
Matilda, my
Tom?
kids, I need to make sure
Yeah.
you know, that was sudden realisation. It was like, wow, okay, you need to just
Absolutely.
be really aware of that.
Absolutely. It's we talk about this all the time. This doesn't seem like a trauma at the time. It doesn't have to be a big traumatic experience. It's just an experience, and then you're in your 40s.
Yeah.
And it's still playing through. Excuse me.
Yeah,
it does.
But you don't,
thing,
when you're little, you don't filter anything. You take it in, and it becomes like a belief. You just accept it, and it grows and grows and grows in your head. And when that stuff's still coming up when you're 40, really inside you're still 6 or 7 trying to deal with it, because your memory was formed, like frozen in time at that point. But you've disconnected. You're not consciously thinking about it, Steve.
No.
Like, that's not the
No, of course not.
So much of your thinking.
Well, of course, and when that parent obviously passes and leaves us, it obviously then it just all of that stuff then comes up, and then it's like, oh, I didn't even recognize it, or I wasn't aware of it at that level. It just calls all of that stuff out. So that for me was a big one. I mean, Sweden's been amazing. I think for me, it's been the right thing at the right time, without a doubt. It's given me my foundation. It's given me a lifestyle that is just, I can't even begin to tell you the lifestyle that we have here. You know, that grounding is really important to me.
It was the right decision, but I think for a while you were there and thinking, like, why am I here? You weren't really connected to it at first, were you? Because you'd lost this big chunk of identity. You didn't have a clear trajectory for your career, which had always been so important to you. And I think you just you'd done the thing of dealing with your dad's passing, but then it was a bit like, what next, wasn't it? Like, where do I go next from here?
Yeah. I mean, there's one of the amazing things, I do share this, is that moving to a new country it's mad, because all of the autopilot things that you have, like if you go, where do I get a kebab? Where do I go and get a good pizza? Where do I, just walking down the road to the corner shop, or where do I go to the pharmacy? Imagine deleting all of that. Like, delete it and everything's new. Everything on every level is at zero. That for me was really interesting. And then the other thing as well, being an expat in a new country, is of course you move away from your friends and your family, is that solitude that you get. Like, you get a lot of solitude to yourself. And actually now, whereas maybe in London, if I was sitting in a restaurant on my own, I would probably feel, I would used to feel uncomfortable. Now I don't care. I mean, I value time to myself much more here, because you have much more time to yourself here. You can do, or you certainly do as an expat into a new country. So that was interesting, and just became more comfortable in myself. Definitely. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if Kirsty would have given you the same exercise to do if you were like doing it in the Thames, just going naked and having a dip in the Thames. Don't mind me, people. Don't mind me.
I'm cleansing. I'm
working something out over here.
I'm really keen to just go back a little bit and explore. When you were going through this period of like loving your life, loving your job, and then you just had this transition where you were turning a certain age, your dad was poorly, and then you woke up one day and you didn't want to be there anymore. And as a man, you know, sometimes it's difficult to communicate. Like you said, you didn't have anyone to talk to. Like, what was going on in your mind at that time? Like,
good question. What was going on in my mind? And I was a complete mess, basically. I mean, that year I was just tired. I was totally done. I was absolutely spent. And then you've got this kind of facade that you need to put on to your management team and your partners, business partners, and then your staff. But actually, in reality, and feedback later, it demonstrated that everybody saw it. Everybody saw it. And
you were thinking, I'm doing such a good job of keeping myself.
I, as much as I can give my energy out when it's low, people obviously see it massively. But you know what? I think for myself, I didn't. It's one of those, isn't it? I never once really asked for help off anybody in that business. I sought it elsewhere outside, because obviously you have to keep up that facade and that whole nonsense. It's all rubbish. I think for me it's it's just one of those. I mean, I had a good run. I was blessed. I was so blessed. 16 years waking up every day, loving what I do. I mean, just that on its own, regardless of, you know, obviously it came to an abrupt end because of what I wanted to do. But at the end of the day, I look back on that, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
And all the learning, you know, I had an impact on people's lives, had an opportunity to help people.
So many
and built a really good
lives.
reputation, you know, had a good reputation as a business, you know, so.
Absolutely. And all that learning though, you're taking with you now, because you have got a new venture now, haven't you? Because you then did some work to find out what do I want to do now and bring closure, because it was still lingering, wasn't it? That the CCA bond was still there, if that was still a part of your identity. You're like, but now I'm Steve in Stockholm and I need to know what's next. So talk everyone through like how you work that part out about the what's next.
Yeah, with difficulty. You know what? I mean, I don't know. My view on it is that after, you know, I don't know. I don't want to put an age on it because age is nonsense. But I would say it gets harder the older you get. I think personally, to change career and to completely change what you're doing. And also there's that kind of, you know, that it feels like anyway, the jump to then into something new is massively, it's big. And bearing in mind, I'm in a new country, I don't speak the language, and it was all that kind of stuff as well.
I think with the age, I think this, because Cheryl and I had this discussion, because obviously we were 44 when we changed our careers. I think you're just so aware of what you have to lose. When you're in your 20s and you don't really care. Correct. But then you've got all of this baggage and families and responsibility, I guess, and more people know you and you've got this reputation, you're scared about looking like a total twat. So that's what someone said yesterday. I'm just scared of looking like a twat.
Like you're actually thinking, are we actually having a midlife crisis here, or is this a really good idea?
Is this a midlife? I used to see that all the time, Cheryl. We're just having a midlife, and we're going to wake up and go, what the actual was that? In a couple of years' time, after we spent all our savings. Yeah. But yeah, this you ask yourself these questions, right?
Yeah. I mean, this for me was the amazing work that we did together, because it was I had a massive blocker, as you know, and then I had this hole that I created myself. So for those that don't know me, I create these things. I create these visual things. Very visual. And this hole was massive, and I was right. I mean, I can't remember was it 18 foot or something deep, or something like that. Anyway,
big and black.
It's big and black. By the way, now it's got a patio and flowers on it, and it's not going anywhere. It's all good.
But this was another lovely universal interjection, wasn't it? You and I have been chatting, because I've been asking you about Sweden and stuff. And then I think we'd done something on LinkedIn and you were like, can we have a chat? And we had a chat. And I was like, well, we're coaching now. And you were like, interesting. When we thought about it, came back and said, I think I need some of this.
Because it was more, I think also that it was because it was a bit more business and career focused. And we were like, actually, this could be really fun to work this and see where it takes us. I think the big one for me is just self-confidence, isn't it? I mean, I that was my biggest one. I'm still every day, you know, doubting sometimes and, you know, battling that stuff. But then I've come to realize that actually that's just how it is when you're in this zone of transition and everything's new. That's the outside of comfort zone. I've been living in it now for, I would say, about 4 years, fairly consistently. Not that I've grown to get used to it, because I don't think it's healthy to be completely 100% used to it, but I think because it just to have an edge. But I definitely say I have that consistently, even today. But the transition was a hard one, mainly due to this identity with call centre associates with CCA, and that's who I was, and also this self-doubt, which really crept in. So I think a bit of work that we did, there was 3, wasn't there? There was the hole, getting myself out of that hole. The second one was around, and we manifested it in that I was holding on to 2 trees. One was the kind of the CCA old Steve kind of way, and then there was the new tree holding on to this new venture and what I wanted to do, which you guys obviously helped me through that and just letting it go and moving forward. And then the other one was around that blocker I'd created for myself, which is I still crack up when I was standing in my kitchen, and God forbid if anyone opposite could look in my kitchen window as I was walking my life timeline on my kitchen floor, and then I got to this blocker, and then you made me walk back through my timeline again, picking up all the good stuff. So I was holding all these boxes of good stuff and then clicking through a wall in my kitchen.
And like, and this is a really powerful NLP exercise. And you said, didn't you, like, actually, of all the months that we worked together, that was one of the
that was a really big one for
powerful breakthroughs for you, of realizing actually you had all this good stuff, but you had this stop-start thing going on in your head, and we're like, it's still there. You can pick it up and bring it through.
Yeah.
Like, okay, then.
You don't leave all your tools behind.
You didn't leave them in England.
Take them with
They're
you.
not in London. They're with you. They're your skills.
Yeah.
But that's what
seeing
happens.
that.
That's what happens when you lose your identity, when you don't know who you are. You forget. You feel like that was somebody else.
Yeah.
That person had these skills, and you've lost connection with that. So then you feel as if you haven't got them. So it's just about what you did was rediscovered who you were at the core, all the fabulous stuff that you had there, and just reconnected with it and brought it with you to today. And it seems silly, doesn't it? But it's like
it works.
I mean, that's the thing. It isn't. This stuff is actually relatively simple in many ways when you look at it just in black and white. But it's obviously not. It's a very complex thing because it's dealing with humans. But what was the thing? For me, I discovered about my energy and my passion and my inspirational part of that's my gift to people. Is to help people and inspire people and to give, share my energy.
But also
a gift of the gab. That was the other one. Yeah, that was from my kid. That was from my childhood. And brought all that good stuff forward to today, and then use that to my advantage. But also recognizing it. You both helped me recognize it. I think that's really important to mention, because I hadn't recognized that. I hadn't given myself enough credit beforehand, and now I kind of recognize it. And use it now. And I see it when I'm in conversations. It's really interesting. Now I know I'm on my awareness of it. When I'm actually in a conversation with somebody, or I'm doing, last week I did a keynote presentation, for example, I'm actually now controlling that energy and passion and that way of just presenting myself to people. I'm much more aware of it now, and I'm using it to my advantage when I'm engaging with people, and I can see it works massively.
It's so important that you connect to your gifts. So, and what we find is a lot of people do when they're thinking about their career, they kind of go with, well, what skills do I have? As in, like, what job experience and what different company can I take, rather than going, but who am I and what do I love and what's the feeling that I really feel connected with, and where could I use that? Which is what we did with you. That was, and you were so up for that, of just. Because in your head the two trees were actually two options, and then there was a different tree, there was a whole, there was all these other trees, there was a forest that you just couldn't see, because this is what we do, we say to ourselves, well, I could do that or do that. Well, actually what coaching's about is taking the blinkers off, as Cheryl always says, and saying there's all these other options, and giving you that insight so that you can make a more informed decision about your choices.
Definitely.
And what that led to was, when we originally spoke to you, you had a goal that you'd set for 3 years. You said, I want to be doing this in 3 years' time. And me and Donna are like, right, okay, then 3 years. No, that's not happening. And I think, like, within 6 months, you'd started to do it.
I remember that.
Yeah, you did the thing where you went to the coffee shop in Sweden and bumped into someone again. You're never going to believe it. Trust me, I'll believe it.
That's one thing I would share with everybody as well, is just like, you know what, trust the process. My journey has been, I can plot my journey, and each part of that transition from being a recruitment agency owner to sitting and realizing, okay, the whole experience thing for me, candidate experience or just experience generally, how do I measure that? So I created a tool that measured it, and then realized, actually, I don't want to do product design or design a product or a tool, but I'm more of a people person. And then that led me on to then being curious around, how do you design an experience? And then that took me to Amsterdam, and then I learned design thinking, and then used that to apply that into design, creating experiences. And that gave me the toolkits to add on to my existing skill. And it's been an onward journey. It's just been this constant thing over a few years. And it's got me to this place now where I'm like, I know where I am now. And I know exactly, I've got my 5-year plan. I know exactly what I'm going to do. It's already manifesting already. And it's mad. Just trust the process. It does work. It does work.
Doesn't it feel nicer when you have that clarity, though, of just knowing, this is what I'm great at, this is what I love doing, this is where I'm going to go in 5 years or 5, and this or something greater, and then you just trust in, like, that the right experiences, the right people are going to come at you, because then you have that clarity and you're being so focused on what it is that you want to give.
Yeah. There's been mad stuff. Mad stuff. I mean, I've one of my things, part of the business I'm doing now, Five Studio, is employee experience generally is growing as a discipline, as a thing, definitely around the world. And I've been connecting with people all around the world on this stuff, as you probably expect. And I kind of I put it out there. I created my original plan early this year, and I was like, right, I want to create this kind of co-creator network of like-minded design thinkers that we can bring together, but independents who are looking for that kind of connection of other people and that community. And I'm not telling you, I have people, I've literally, within a few days, there's people connecting to me from Portugal, Australia. And I was like, hang on a minute, this is weird. Actually, people reaching out and saying, hey, I came across your profile. I'd love to connect in. I'm really looking to collaborate. I'm one of the guys. I was like, what? I mean, just stuff like that going on all the time.
I love it. Yeah. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, Steve, if they want to know more about design thinking, about what you can do for their organization, how you can speak for them?
Yeah. So if anyone's looking to improve their employee experience or how people experience their business, then just connect with me on LinkedIn. My best location. So Steve USHER.
Steve USHER. We'll put your LinkedIn profile on as well.
Thank you.
Oh, cool.
Thank you.
So, but now you're in this really good space and place in your life, aren't you? You found this gorgeous new home in Stockholm, so you're finally going to settle down and create the roots. Like, that's it, decision made, commitment now, we know that we're settled.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Brexit played a big part in that, obviously delaying selling our home in the UK. Thank God we sold it just in the middle of Corona, believe it or not. So no, we're this year's just been, that's the other thing as well, like try to force this grounding here in Sweden. And then actually it has taken 4 years. It actually trying to force it in year 2, looking back now, is crazy. I should have just relaxed a bit more and just go with it, Steve. It's going to be fine. But now we've got this year 4 has been an interesting one. As you know, Nina and I, one of our big goals was this year, the word that we chose separately, bizarrely. And when we shared what we want to do in 2020 together, the word we both used as number 1 was foundation, which is just mad. And so that's all happening for sure, if not happened already.
Amazing. And the house that you bought, again, had something that was on your vision board.
It bloody was as well. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Honestly, I haven't updated my board yet because I thought I'd just take a few weeks just to chill, because there was so many things ticking off in such a short period of time. So we ended up, just to share it with everybody. So here in Stockholm, there's no houses; it's all apartments. So we had a thing where in our lounge, we wanted to have this open plan kind of lounge with like an L shape, but like a curved, like a corner plot in an apartment block. And we spaced it out. We put like others manifested various other things, and we ended up getting a corner penthouse apartment with a mate. It's going to be it is going to be epic. And it's just I'm still we're moving in October. I'm still kind of massively I've got huge amounts of gratitude that actually it just, as we say, I think the universe gave that one to us as well. But amazing. So thankful to have this. So thankful.
So like for people at the cusp and at the crossroads in their life, like whether they're 40, 50, 20, like people go through at different times, what's like the life lesson that you would pay forward to them to do if someone's listening to this today and saying, this is me, like I've fallen out of love with my career or my life or whatever, what do I do?
So, I mean, I think that if for those that are really struggling, I mean, I wish, it's one of those, in hindsight, I wish I could go back to my person, to myself in my 20s and just gone, mate, when things get tough, just seek out support, like find the right people, but don't force that, because as I say, with all of my coaches, I had 3 in the last kind of 5 or 6 years, I would say, like, let it come kind of naturally. When you find somebody, it just comes naturally along. It's normally a good thing, because you can't do it on your own, no matter how much. I mean, I always thought, I'll be all right. I can do it on my own. I'll tough it up and all that bullshit. No, you can't do it on your own, actually. And there's growth through different ways, and not just by yourself. I'm not saying that it's going to be better or different or whatever, but there are places where are people who will ask you the right questions that you need to be asked you, that you're not asking yourself. And those people are trained and professional, and they do it for a living for a reason. It's because they're good at it. So I think that's one of my biggest ones for sure. And I think the other one as well is just chill. Try and anyway, just chill out. My thing is that I always lived, I know we talked about it, but my energy and my presence, I tend to live in the rainbow quite a lot. So I discovered meditation and mindfulness. That's been tremendously impactful for me, to find this grounding, to then make proper decisions and to just get out of the noise. And that's where you find some of the grounding questions that you're looking for, that you're looking out for, the words or the things that you're trying to find. I've used that to great effect. I still meditate even today. It's a great method of doing that.
I love that. I love that.
It. Love
and the
it.
things
Love it,
find
love it.
you, do it when you're aligned.
And one more.
Go on then, go on.
Always do it in threes. So I would say the other one as well, and it genuinely is do a journal. I only started, when did I start mine? A couple of years ago, maybe.
A couple of years now, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't do it every day. I mean, again, don't put pressure on yourself. It's not a thing that you have to do every single day. I think I missed a couple of weeks the other month, but no pressure. You just pick it back up and start journaling again. But that whole thing around what gratitude, what are you thankful for? What are you going to do today? Just getting stuff out of your head onto a piece of paper. Because last year in December, when we were in the Philippines, I took my books with me and I read them all and went through it. And it is amazing the amount of learning and themes that you find in those bloody books. And you go, oh my God, I'm doing this. Or, oh my God, I need to stop doing that. Or no, I was on the right track, but I kind of veered off.
Yeah.
So it's a brilliant way of just documenting on a micro level, but then using it later to find those themes. Because trust me, it's like, I don't know, there are themes in there and you'll find patterns. Yeah.
I love that, Steve. We appreciate you so much for coming and sharing
love you
your story. Awesome. And I know it's going to inspire so many people, because there's so many people, especially right now, after going through Corona, who are questioning a lot of big elements in their life, a lot of big elements. So I think that advice will really, really hit home with a lot of people when they listen to this. So thank you so much.
Thank you
so
much.
Welcome.
We
so
love
welcome.
you.
Love you too.
Love
Pleasure.
you so much.
Pleasure.
Bye, hon.
Bye now.